Shalom. I want to thank Brother Melech for doing our introductory reading. I studied this out last night in two different translations, both the Jewish Publication Society translation that I'll be reading from and also the Complete Jewish Study Bible, getting a different take, different understanding on the traditions, what have you, that are playing out here. And yet it never fails, and it happened again today, and it never fails that when Melech reads the word, it comes alive for me in a unique way. And I just want to thank you for that, because there were some things that, as you read them, as the inflection that you put on to your understanding of things that you've learned over the years, over the decades, kind of stirs my heart and makes me look at things in a different way, and I appreciate that. So we're in the 27th chapter of the book of Genesis, or Bereshit. It says, when Yitzhak was older son Esau, and said to him, my son. Yeah, every time I read this, I think about my grandfather, and how from the time I was about 15, his right eye, he had an optical aneurysm, and his left eye just slowly then started fading till he could see shadows and nothing else by the time he passed away. He lived years in near complete darkness. I can't even fathom what that is, or what that's like. Sometimes I like to sit alone in the dark, just by myself. It's peaceful. But the idea of never being able to come out of that, it's borderline frightening, and I think it would be frightening if I had to live it. But that's where Yitzhak is in his old age. Now remember, he wasn't a young man when he had his sons, when Rivka gave him his sons. He wasn't a young man, he was like 40 when he married her, and it was some time after that before he was able to, they were able to have children. And we know that this is at least 40 years later after that, because it says that in an earlier chapter, it says that Esau took his first wife when he was 40. And now some time has passed, so much so that we're going to read about the trouble that is being caused, and was touched on at the end of last week's reading, the trouble that they're causing in the family, those wives that he took outside of the wisdom of his family, of his parents. He called his older son Esau and said to him, my son. He answered, here I am. That's a righteous answer. That's the answer that Abraham gave to Elohim. The answer that Yirmiyahu gave to Elohim. Is the answer that Shaul gave to Elohim. When Shaul did it, it was because Eli told him to, which I believe was probably something he had been taught as a priest, and he had learned that there's a proper manner in which to respond when your name is called upon, specifically when it's called upon by the creator of the universe. And yet here is Esau, who we constantly see put down by the mainline churches. And I get it, I understand. Yaakov have I loved, Esau have I hated. I get that. I know that's what Scripture said. But in this instance, I want you to take a look and see that the man has learned something. Okay, from the examples of Yitzhak and Abraham and from the stories of his heritage, he's learned that when one who is in authority over you says, especially your father, your relationship with your father is to be a relationship between yourself and the Creator, you answer, here I am. You don't answer, give me a minute, I'll be there when I have time. You say, here I am. People wonder about the breakdown in families today. People are quick to say, yes, I agree with you, Rachel. I agree with you when you say that the downfall of American society is the absent father syndrome. And yet, the same people who will say that, the single mothers or the children who are at a loss because they don't have a father in their life. Like when you try to tell them that when their father calls to them or their husband calls to them, the proper answer is "Here I am." They don't want to hear it because society has told them that the husband and the father is not a position, not a role that deserves the utmost respect. If we don't give the utmost respect to the person whose position is a reflection of our relationship with our Creator, how are we ever going to have a right relationship with our Creator? And how are we ever going to have healthy families? I see the same thing in synagogues. I see the same thing in mainline churches. I see the same thing in workplaces. Okay, the boss says, "I need you to do this." The answer is almost never, "Here I am." I remember a few years ago, first time I went to work where I work now before I left and then came back. My supervisor was immediately amazed that no matter what she asked of me, it got done. And when she said, "I'm running behind on this and I need to figure out how to do this," I was the first person to step up and she said, "I don't get this. Why are you like this?" And I explained to her the principle that this is how one who is in submission is supposed to respond to the one to whom they are in submission. Okay? When I agreed to take that job, I agreed to be in submission to the authority of the people above me. Okay? And I explained to her, I said, "I hear you talk about problems in your home. If you will go home and teach your daughter by example to respect her father, your husband, this way, your problems in your marriage will begin to disappear." She hesitated. It took her a while to get it. But when she got it, she almost immediately reported to me within a matter of days how much better her marriage was and how much better the relationship between herself and her daughter and also her husband and her daughter were. Okay? And I see that over and over again when I am able to get someone to understand this principle. Things begin to fall in place in their life. Okay? I've seen it in my marriage. I've seen it in my relationship with my children. When this pattern is followed appropriately, things become better. And he said, "I am old now, and I do not know how soon I may die. Take your gear, your quiver and bow, and go out into the open and hunt me some game. Then prepare a dish for me, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my innermost blessing before I die." I want you to think about this. He doesn't say just go find something that's available and cook it however you want it and bring it to me, so I might say some good words over you. He says, "Go out into the field that you are the master of." Because remember that from earlier weeks? He was the master of the hunt. Yaakov was more like the master of the flock. Okay? Nothing wrong with either one, but Yitzhak favored Esau not just because he was the eldest, but because his heart was in the hunt. He was a man of the wilderness. He was more of a man's man. As much as I want to have the faith that Yaakov had at the end of his life, I long to be the type of manly man that Esau apparently was. But he tells him specifically, "Go out and kill me some game." He wanted something wild. And if you've never eaten wild game, you're missing something. Now, some people don't care for it. And some people say they don't care for it at first and it's an acquired taste. But I tell you, from the first time I ate wild game as a child, I longed for that flavor. That I didn't understand it at the time, but it's the fact that the creator of the universe fed that creature far better than anyone on a farm ever could think of. To this day, I love the taste of wild game. But he says, "Go out and get that for me." And he says, "Prepare a dish for me such as I like." In other words, you know what I prefer. do this for me. And I see here a picture of servitude that is being required, not unlike what Hadassah or Esther did to find the pleasure of the king. Okay? Do as I prefer. Bring it to me to eat, so that, this is an if-then statement. If you do that, then I will give you my inner blessing before I die. Okay? Now, this is one of the few places that I've found that I don't 100% agree with the Complete Jewish Study Bible. They have a different translation of that. I really think the JPS is getting this right. I think this is the innermost blessing of his heart. This is the blessing that he has cherished. And when we get to what he says in the blessing, I think that'll make sense because you'll see where it comes from. Rivka had been listening to Yitzhak as Yitzhak spoke to his son Esau. You notice it doesn't say their son. Now we know it's their son because she gave birth to him. But earlier in the previous chapter, we read that Yitzhak preferred Esau and Rivka preferred Yaakov. Okay? And we talked about there's going to be a problem there when we have favorites. Okay? Now I think my grandfather had the right approach to this because it's impossible not to have a favorite. I've got 5 kids, and on any given day, one of them might tell you that somebody else is my favorite. Okay? And Yaakov is pointing at Kaylee, and Kaylee is pointing at Yaakov, and they have a disagreement about who is the favorite. And I believe right now Leah believes that Kaylee is the favorite, and that was discussed this morning. And let me tell you the approach that I try to take, the approach that my grandfather taught me, because his children always thought that one of the others was his favorite. His approach that he told me when I said, everybody thinks that my mom is your favorite, but my mom thinks that this other one is your favorite. What's going on? He said, I'll tell you who my favorite is. He said, my favorite is whichever one of my children needs me the most at the moment. Because that's what they're interpreting as being my favorite. Because that's who I'm giving the time and the attention to, because I know that he or she needs me more than the other needs me at that moment. And then the others stand back and say, oh, well, he's having a problem and Dad's right there to take care of him. Or she's in need and Dad's right there to take care of her. And they don't stop and think about, well, yesterday I was in need and Dad was right there for me. Okay? That, I believe, was the healthiest way I've ever seen that handled. But I see families today where there's always a favorite. Okay? And all it ever causes is discord. All it ever causes is division among the siblings, division among husband and wife, mother and father. But here, the division is so strong that at this point, Esau is not even referred to as their son. He's referred to as Yitzhak's son. When Esau had gone out into the open to hunt game to bring home, Rivka said to her son Yaakov, I overheard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, bring me some game and prepare a dish for me to eat, that I may bless you with Yehovah's approval before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully as I instruct you. Go to the flock and fetch me 2 choice kids, and I will make of them a dish for your father, such as he likes. You'll hear that? She was listening. She heard what the requirement was. It had to be a dish that he would like. Then take it to your father to eat, in order that he may bless you before he dies. Yaakov answered his mother Rivka, but my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth skin. If my father touches me, I shall appear to him as a trickster. You remember one of the meanings of the name Yaakov is trickster? He says, if you have me do this and I do it, I'm going to live up to my name. Is that prophetic? I think so. And bring upon myself a curse, not a blessing. You hear what he's saying? He understands that his father, his Abba, has not only the authority to bless him as he chooses, he has the authority to curse him as he chooses. Okay? That is an authority that rests in the Father. Part of the problem that we have in this society today that I was talking about, the absent father syndrome, part of the problem is that the father, who is man's law, allows the mother to push the father out of the child's life, and the father is so embittered toward the mother that he begins to hate the child. And there are things put in place there, such as, the father can provide, after pushed out, can provide a separate home and provide resources and provide nurturing for that child, and then still has to be pushed into poverty by these required payments when he's already providing everything that Torah says he needs to provide. Okay, and so he becomes embittered, not just at the ex-wife, not just at the judge, not just at the legal system, but at the child. And that brings a curse upon the child. You young men who are not husbands and fathers yet, you need to bear this in mind. Choose wisely when you choose your wives. And when you choose them, choose women who you believe will stand by you to death. And if they don't, never hold that against your children. Never bring upon your children curses of bitterness. But his mother said to him, "Your curse, my son, be upon me. Just do as I say, and go fetch them for me." That's quite a promise. Kind of a foreshadowing, I think, of what shall I do with this man who you call Mashiach? Oh, his blood will be on us and all our descendants. Is that even possible? We're going to find out. He got them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared a dish such as his father liked. Rivkah then took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were there in the house, and had her younger son Yaakov put them on. And she covered his hands and his hairless part, the hairless part of his neck, with the skins of the kids. Then she put in the hands of her son Yaakov the dish and the bread that she had prepared. So it's no longer a lie and deceit, it's also theft. He went to his father and said, "Father," and he said, "Yes, which of my sons are you?" You see, he wasn't just blind, he was losing his hearing too. Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Pray sit up and eat of my game, that you may give me your innermost blessing, the blessing of your heart." Yitzhak said to his son, "How did you succeed so quickly, my son?" See, he's seriously doubting this. And he said, "Because Yehovah, your Elohim, granted me good fortune." Now, is that a slippery slope to stand on? He's deceiving him. He's stealing from his brother twice, once his clothes, and now his blessing. And he's giving credit for this to the creator of the universe. And down the road, Yaakov's going to wonder why he gets cheated and deceived. There's a saying, what goes around comes around. And I don't believe in karma as the doctrine that karma is taught in like Hinduism and Buddhism and what have you. I do not believe in that, but I do believe that when you do wrong and you give credit for the wrong to the creator of the universe, he's going to make you pay for it in one way or another. Yitzhak said to Yaakov, "Come closer that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." That's pretty, he's doubting pretty hard here, guys. So Yaakov drew close to his father Yitzhak, who felt him and wondered. The voice is the voice of Yaakov, yet the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, and so he blessed him. He asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And when he said, "I am," he said, "Serve me and let me eat of my son's game, that I may give you my innermost blessing." So he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Yitzhak said to him, "Come close and kiss me, my son." And he went up and kissed him, and he smelled his clothes, and he blessed him, saying, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the fields that Yehovah has blessed." Okay? That's the one sense so far that he's not questioning. He questioned what he heard. He knew he couldn't see. He even questioned a little bit when he felt him, because it didn't match up with what he heard, but he smelled him, and he said, "I'm old, and all these other senses are going, but I know what I smell. I smell the fields, and I know that's where Esau was." May Elohim give you of the dew of heaven and the fat of the earth. In other words, may you never be in need. Abundance of new grain and wine, let peoples serve you, and nations bow to you. Be master over your brothers. And this one threw me off, but I think we were doing the study last night, the comparative study, and I think the Complete Jewish Study Bible gets this right. It translates it as your mother's descendants. Okay? And let your mother's sons bow to you. I'm sorry, that the mother's sons is what is translated as mother's descendants. The brothers, what is translated here as brothers, is your kinsmen. So be master over your kinsmen, and let your mother's descendants bow to you. Cursed be they who curse you, blessed be they who bless you. That's the Abrahamic covenant, folks. It's what he got from his father. He alone, not he and any of his brothers, not Ishmael, not any of the sons of Keturah. He got it. And so in his mind, he believes he can only give this blessing to one. And by his choice, he was going to give it to the eldest son. Is the son who had his favor. No sooner had Yaakov left the presence of his father Yitzhak, after Yitzhak had finished blessing Yaakov, than his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too prepared a dish and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father sit up and eat of his son's game, so that you may give me your innermost blessing." His father Yitzhak said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, Esau, your firstborn." Yitzhak was seized with very violent trembling. You see how upset this man was now that he knows that he's been deceived. "Who was it then," he demanded, "that hunted game and brought it to me? Moreover, I ate of it before you came, and I blessed him. Now he must remain blessed." I used to wonder when I was first a believer, even before that, when I was first reading the scripture and I didn't understand it at all, before I was even a believer. And I said, well, why didn't you just take it back? Oh, I was deceived. You don't get that, Yaakov. I'm giving it to your brother because he pleased me. And later I realized it's because he spoke it in the name of Yehovah. He gave a blessing. He spoke words, a joy to the blessed name. And it couldn't be taken back. Now I would argue that he could have given the same blessing to the son he wanted to give it to. But his understanding was that he couldn't. And that, I think, goes back to the prophecy that the younger would serve the elder. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into wild and bitter sobbing and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." See, this is the son who wanted his father's blessing. This is the son who loved and adored his father, who was by his side. This was a man of the field who hunted. This was a man of the field who lived in the wilderness. He was a hard man. And he was weeping over the idea that he could not have his father's blessing. And I tell you, we have a whole nation today, a whole world full of Esau's who want nothing more than their father's blessing. But he answered, "Your brother came with guile and took away your blessing." Esau said, "Was he then named Jacob that he might supplant me these 2 times? First he took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing." And he added, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Yitzhak answered, saying to Esau, "But I have made him master over you. I have given him all his brothers for servants, all his kinsmen for servants, and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son?" He spoke great powerful words over one son in the name of Yehovah, and reserved nothing for the other son. There's a lesson here, and it's not just don't steal your brother's blessing. There's a lesson here for fathers. Don't give your entire blessing to one child and forsake the others. Because had he prepared to divide his blessings evenly, had he prepared to say, Esau gets this blessing and Yaakov gets this blessing, they each get half of this land my father was promised. If he had prepared himself to do that, then he could have said, you know what Yaakov didn't know is I had a blessing for him too, and now I'm going to give it to you. And Esau said to his father, "Have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, father." And can't you just hear the children of our country crying out today, "Bless me too, father"? And Esau wept aloud, and his father Yitzhak answered, saying to him, "See, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth." You notice he doesn't say you'll enjoy the abode that has the fat of the earth. He says your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth. And the more I studied on that this morning, the more I thought, you know what that means? I think that means wherever you go, wherever your foot sets down, wherever you make your tent to dwell, that place is going to have the fat of the earth. And the dew of heaven above. Yet by your sword you shall live. He says it's not going to be an easy way to go. You're going to have to win that place because I can't give you that place because Yaakov got it. And we know that the descendants of Esau went up into the mountains that became Edom. And then they became a fierce and fighting nation. And you shall serve your brother, and when you grow rested, you shall break his yoke from your neck. You know that happened? Happened several times in history, not the least of which is during the time of Mashiach's walk on earth. Do you know that the Herodians were a lineage of Esau from Edom? That they were false kings of the Yahudim, that they were put in place by the Roman government? Now Esau harbored a grudge against Yaakov because of the blessing which his father had given him. And Esau said to himself, let but the mourning period of my father come, and I will kill my brother Yaakov. Do we see the result of favoritism on the part of a parent, especially a father? Do we see that when we favor one child above all the others, the bitterness that will outlive the parent? I can tell you based on things in my family that it will outlive the child who was preferred. And that their children will be despised by the children of the other children. It will continue. When the words of her older son Esau were reported to Rivkah, she sent for her younger son Yaakov and said to him, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. Now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to Haran to my brother Laban. Everybody remembers him, right? Guy who wanted her to stay 10 extra days so he could have 10 extra camels worth of gold? Yeah. All right. Gold and silver. Stay with him a while until your brother's fury subsides. I can tell you from personal experience, it's not going to happen. Until your brother's anger against you subsides, still not going to happen. And he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will fetch you from there. Let me not lose you both in one day, meaning Yitzhak and Yaakov. Let me not lose you both. Rivkah said to Yitzhak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Het. If Yaakov marries a Hittite woman like these from among the native women, what good will life be to me? And you can add on to that after you die. Because what she's really saying to him is, all I have in life is you. If Yaakov marries a woman like these women, it will break my heart. I will have nothing left when you go. And this is one of those places where I say it's one of the worst chapter breaks they could have ever come up with, because this story continues into the next chapter. But so that we keep things together on the recording, on the lessons, we're going to just stay with where the chapter breaks. But let's go back and take a look. You remember when Rivkah said, your curse be on me? You know, it's not once in this whole thing did Yitzhak or Esau say one cross word about Rivkah. She can say all she wants to. Let your curse be on me, son. Just do as I tell you to do. Who ended up cursed? Who ended up is going to have to flee to another land and hide out with his uncle? Who is going to have to leave the land that was given to him as a blessing handed down from his father, from his grandfather, from the creator of the universe, has to leave his land now and go find wives somewhere else and start his family somewhere else, because he did what he was told to do by someone who said, your curse will be upon me. Can the curse of our actions be passed to someone else? No. We choose our actions. This was a grown man. This was not a little boy trusting his mommy. This was a grown man listening to his mother tell him to deceive his father. And he chose to do it. And the curse was on no one but him for choosing to do it. Do we have a midrash? Yes. I don't know. Maybe she thought, well, if Yitzhak gets mad, I'll say it was my idea, and he loves me, and he'll forgive me, and he'll let Yaakov be. She didn't really count on how Esau was going to handle it. You notice, even when he realized what happened, you didn't hear, nowhere in there does Yitzhak say, curse for Yaakov. He just said, he came in, he tricked me, I gave him the blessing. Son, I'll give you a blessing, but it can't be what I gave him. Okay? Yes.
I think isn't it possible that scenario didn't happen at all? Got good like Jacob said, he loves Jacob. Apparently he's gonna bless him. But the mother intervened, intervened.
I think it comes down to, I've long believed this comes down to, he has a perfect will and a permissive will. And his perfect will was always that Yaakov would be the master of Esau. Okay? His permissive will was that, well, Rivka, if you're going to do this, you're going to get Yaakov to do this. Yaakov, you're going to follow your mother's instructions. You're going to do this. Well, fine. You're still going to be master over your brother and all of your kinsmen. But guess what? There's going to be a price to pay for it. And now you're going to pay for it. Whereas before, he would have just gotten it. Elohim would have just worked it out somehow. And it would have been like, oh, you know. I mean, Esau had already sold him his birthright. Okay? Maybe he would have sold him the blessing. We don't know. I don't know how that would have worked. But maybe there would have been something transpire like that. Maybe Esau would have just died young. And his sons and grandsons would have followed in after Yaakov as a new patriarch. And everything would have just gone from there. We have no way of knowing because they didn't let us know. They took things into their own hands. Yes.
How do you think the way trying to scriptures, the blessing that Isaac bestowed upon Jacob, Esau. And nevertheless, he says, prepare me this meal, meat, without Isaac. It seemed like to me what he was saying was there was a blessing in him. That blessing, that important blessing, the only way it can come out is for him to serve him that meal, and that blessing came out of him automatically.
You ever thought about it that way?
It was just God through him.
He was looking for someone with a servant's heart.
And I don't quite that way. There was just something about that whole episode. So, you know, I always felt that with me.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I'm just saying I hadn't thought about it.
I'm just saying it seems that way. I guess I'm old.
And it could very well be. I'd have to go back and study on it some because I haven't thought about it from that perspective before. Anybody else? Yes?
I think it's interesting how she says to Rebecca, his daughter, Isaac, that, she tells Yaakov, she says that he's going to have to flee to Laban, but then she tells Isaac that it's because he doesn't want him to marry a Hittite woman. And you kind of have to wonder if that was just the excuse that she use.
That's a good point.
Just saying.
I've heard it preached that way before.
Send them
And what you're saying, that, hey, I need an excuse to send Yaakov to Lavan. So I'm going to tell Yitzhak that it's for this reason that I want him to send him. Quite possible.
And I know they didn't like Esau marrying Yitzhak, but it's like, it was just a convenient way, you know?
Yeah. Convenient deception. Yes.
You're talking about, will, is it permissive will?
The perfect will. Yeah, he has a perfect will,
Yeah.
and he permits us to mess up.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I think-
His translation is,
Mhm. Maybe how it was flavored. I don't know.
it's also,
Maybe he's really old and so his taste is different when you get old. Maybe you couldn't really tell. You know.
Geriatrics nurse. Do you have a lot of clients who are residents, who have trouble with their eating? You do? Okay. So, because we're won't be.
My grandma said that when she had,
One of my grandfathers was like that. But the other three grandparents, I think, knew what they were eating to their dying day. You know, okay. So it's quite possible that he was just one of those people who got to the point where he couldn't tell.